the light of Christ's glory. Jesus Christ is the same in his glory as he was before. So when he got transfigured, we don't say transformed. He didn't turn into an alien. He didn't look different. They recognized him. That was their Lord who walked with them and talked with them on earth. But just for a brief moment, they got to see his real glory. He said his face shone like the sun and his clothes were like the light. And it was to let them know who God really is. We have to constantly remind ourselves that, because we so easily fade away. Even Peter, not long after that, turned and denied Jesus. We constantly need to remind each other who God really is. There was no change in his feature, no change in his nature. He was the merciful but all-powerful God. We don't talk enough about being scared. You should be scared if people are in sin, they're doing wrong. God is a judge, and he will not let evil go. But not wanting that anybody should have to face that punishment, Jesus comes himself to take our punishment. But to remember how almighty powerful and pure light God, in God it says there's no darkness at all. God hates evil. Sometimes I see the news on the internet or something else and I think, I'm sorry, God, you don't want people to act like that. That is not how you made us to be that. And I'm sure that just as things sometimes anger us when innocent people are hurt, think about how much more a pure God cannot stand that, his glory and his light. Jesus was on a mission, but he had to put himself in disguise in a human form. He left his glory and all that shining brightness to come to earth. And he wouldn't give up on that mission no matter how hard it was. Now we're going to take a minor thing. It's not anything like Jesus, but we just have to relate it to ourselves a little bit. How many people have a pet or ever had a pet? Anybody? Everybody say their pet's name at once. Well, we won't hear each other, but Annie. So we love that pet too. If it's like most pets, did anyone's pet ever get lost, even just one time? Or did your pet always stay? Most people have, at some point, have had an experience. And ours, my son brought home this wild dog that went with my nice, calm dog. And my dog was so timid, it wouldn't even push open a gate, even if it wasn't locked. His dog would just, boom, burst open the gates. And one day I come home and Annie's not there, And so, if you're like most pet owners are, you're going to search. Right? You're going to get out. Everybody in the family's going different directions, asking the neighbors, knocking on doors. Bad weather, that didn't stop you. It's raining. We're still going out in the neighborhood trying to find our dog and hoping, praying. Yes, praying for the dog that she didn't get hit in the busy road and all that. You're on a mission and you won't. Do you stop until you find that? Not until you're either too tired or you covered every territory and then you've got to get on the phone, call everybody, or post bulletins. We didn't have to do that. Our dog was so friendly. She was at the gas station. Every time somebody got out of their car, she was licking them. But eventually they said they were just afraid that she was going to get hit, so they called the dog pound because they didn't want her to, get out in the road. But she hadn't really bothered anyone besides licking them when they got out of the car. But no, that's just a mild thing. But you won't give up. Can you imagine Jesus Christ? He's coming from heaven. He won't give up. He's got to find his lost children. The glory of Christ's light and love and power is, we said, I can only imagine. It's beyond our imagination. If we didn't have any goodness, all you would have to think about was the life of Jesus Christ. The thing that always amazes me is, and I've told you this story before, is people who really love goodness, but they think they don't like God. Now, who do they think God is? Like I said, my sister worked in a juvenile detention center for a while. She was a teacher. It was a lockdown facility. And she had a teacher friend there who loved helping people. And even on her spare time, she'd be sewing blankets for this Linus thing for children's hospitals and things. But she said she was an atheist. But she loved good. And I said, she doesn't understand. If she loves good, she loves God. That's what God is, pure goodness. Pure goodness. Just as we can't gaze on the full power of the Son, we can't really look at Christ totally. And the disciples were so afraid they fell down. And the Apostle Paul talked about how we just can't imagine how great God is. There's two verses that just jump out. In Ephesians 3, it says, I pray that you might have the power to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and height and depth, and to know the love of Christ that surpasses all knowledge, that you might be filled with all the fullness of God. It says, just to know the love of Christ, you can't imagine how loving God is, how much He cares about us. And then there's another one in Philippians 3. And here's the Apostle Paul, who's been in ministry about 20-some years. And he said that he couldn't still yet know all about the Lord. He said, I want to know Christ. He'd been in ministry doing all this great work. I want to know Christ and the power of His resurrection and the sharing of His suffering, by becoming like Him in death, if somehow I may attain the resurrection from the dead. So he knew that even though he knew a lot about God, and even God's power flown through him, there's no way he could really know how powerful and how the pure love of God is just beyond our imagination. And the glory of the light of Christ brings comfort and healing. We're waiting for the sunshine, aren't we? And whenever you get a glimpse of it, don't you just like go stand by the window or go outside? Sometimes it's just deceiving. The sun looks so good, but if you went outside, you'd still be freezing. But we know the sun makes everyone feel better. It has this warming. It has a good effect on our psychological state of mind. And they talked about Jesus' face shone like the sun. It's His immortality, and it brings a warmness and comfort. That if we can really get close to God, we can just feel that comfort like the sun soaking into us. And we feel again hope when we don't know how something's going to get resolved. We still feel the hope. It's the sunshine of belief, though. People can be all around God and still not realizing how much God is working. It takes faith. It takes faith just to believe that God is at work and to spend time with the Lord. You don't have to wonder, is God to accept you? There's so many verses that say, all who call upon the name of the Lord will be saved. And what will we be saved from? Right now, from living for ourselves in sin, and for in the future to know that we have immortality with Christ. It's a great comfort when we know, and when it's our time or when it's our loved ones' time, that they can know Christ and be in